My friend Dan was inspired by David Windestal's video where he uses a weather balloon to fly his glider up to the edge of space. We decided to do a slightly lower budget version of this using Dan's Old Horizon Hobbies glider. A cheap video transmitter from a small quadcopter that he had, and some cheap balloons from the grocery store.
So this is hooked to the elevator servo. This piece of wire. So in this mode, my elevator servo is just full up. When I flip this switch, it goes to full down, which opens the latch, and then goes back to the elevator servo for flight.
And this is where the wire's going to go that connects to the balloons.
Yep. So I should be able to just go this.
We're going to do a test drop. Oh no.
Not a good sign.
We thought maybe we could heat them up in the bathroom and get some more lift, but no such luck. So we decided against getting some more balloons that day, and I just took the rest of the balloons home on the back of my bike.
One eternity later.
So a few weeks later, my buddy Paul joined us, and we tried this all over again, but with much bigger balloons from Party City. Each one of these balloons was like $7 a piece, and so we ended up with like a $14 balloon.
All right,
launch.
you want to do a control surface check?
I can only do rudder.
Okay. Well, you got rudder.
Elevator's latched.
Got it.
I thought it would be cool to get some shots of the balloon going up with a DJI Spark, and Paul had some concerns about that.
Do you have that locked to the 2.4 band?
No.
Okay. At some point, if we goes really far, we might have to land and turn it off.
But despite Paul's concerns, we decided to launch the balloon anyway.
All right.
The horizontal lines in the video feed coming down from the glider are actually 5.8 interference from my controller that was controlling the DJI Spark. So Paul was right to actually have concerns about that. You can definitely tell, and luckily we weren't really limited by the video distance and the video range, but still, if we have to go any farther, we definitely have to come up with a better way of doing that. At this point, we're about 1,000 feet off the ground, and the video signal is getting a little bit shaky, especially due to the 5.8 gigahertz Wi-Fi interference that you see, that spread spectrum interference. That's probably from my DJI Spark controller, but it's getting pretty close, and you can tell at some point here the video drops out and Dan decides to pull the trigger. And here, after about maybe 1,300 feet, 1,400 feet or so, Dan finally pulls the trigger and launches the glider. At this point, I'm just racing the spark back and trying to get it down as quickly as possible to allow the glider to come down. The glider is actually coming down a lot quicker. Here, Dan actually flies between two cell phone towers that are standing right next to where we set up to launch the glider. He actually lands the plane like almost right at our feet, like probably within 20-30 feet of where we were standing. It was a nearly perfect landing. Dad did a fantastic job, and Paul was absolutely right. I should not have had that spark going. So, lesson learned. But all in all, a successful run for $14 balloon plus another $12 of test balloons. Even though we had all the interference with the 5.8 gigahertz video downlink, the biggest problem was actually the transmitter downlink. The transmitter was losing signal, and that's what ultimately caused Dan to release the glider from the balloon, is because they didn't really have enough signal, and he's worrying about the control signal losing out. So a little bit better control signal, some better antennas, some directional antennas, maybe some more power on the transmitter. We can go quite a bit higher. This is probably about 1,500 feet maybe total, which we could go much higher with balloons. And next time we'll have to do that. We could also probably fly the same setup just with a small lift quadcopter so that we don't have to use the balloons every time. But at some point we'd like to use a glider that can go a bit higher with just a bit more range. But this is the first test, and we'll see what we can do from there.